brutal.
All right. First thing is first. In my last video, I mentioned how fickle the weather is here in Nova Scotia and Halifax specifically, and I showed it going from snow to sun in a matter of minutes. Look at the weather this morning. And now, look what it was like for the rest of the day. You honestly just cannot prepare for the weather in this city. It's impossible. Anyway, that is completely besides the point. One thing I've been thinking about a lot lately, and kind of not criticizing myself about, but I guess sort of self-auditing on, is what value I'm providing on these platforms, Instagram and YouTube, versus what value I'm actually capable of providing. Because I think so many of us, or all of us really, unless we're completely off technology, are so inundated with content, and so much of it is so meaningless that I feel bad that I often contribute to that. So although it can be fun to film my day and post updates, and some people do enjoy seeing that, I actually want people who see my content and watch my videos, look at my photos, read my blog posts, whatever, to actually come away knowing something that they didn't know before or learning something new. And so I've spent a good amount of time sort of jostling and wondering what that content might be, how exactly I might present that value, and I saw something the other day that sparked an idea for me. So my friend Ross Simmons, who is a local marketing and digital marketing guru who I look up to a lot, he posted something on Instagram the other day. I think I've got a screenshot here. Yeah, there it is. I don't know if you can see this. So this picture is the baby Ninja Turtles walking with Master Splinter when he was raising them and taking care of them. And this one down here is the grown-up Ninja Turtles with a much older Master Splinter, and they're now taking care of him. And I personally just grew up loving the Ninja Turtles, so I'm a bit biased on this one.
The path that leads to what we truly desire is long and difficult, but only by following that path do we achieve our goal.
I love that photo, and it got me thinking about mentorship. I've wanted to talk about mentorship for some time now, because I've had some relative degree of success over the past 2 years based on the scale that I live within anyway, and in large part, I owe that relative degree of success to some incredible support and advice from some fantastic mentors and friends. And in no way do I want to come off as a know-it-all, because I know very well how much I don't know. But if the me that existed 3 years ago were able to pick my brain now, I would be in a much better spot. I would have a lot to offer from all the mistakes that I've made and all the things that I've learned over these couple of years. And so it's my hope that there's at least a few people out there who are watching this that might be able to take something away from my experiences, and perhaps learn from some of my mistakes. And so, without further ado, I present to you the 5 things that you need to know about mentorship as told by a millennial who has had some degree of success over the past 2 years, in large part due to some fantastic advice and mentoring from some fantastic mentors and friends. Here we go. Number 1, finding a mentor, and especially the right mentor, can and probably will be a lot of work. Unless you're really lucky, you're probably gonna have to go ahead and seek them out. And chances are you're gonna have to hit the pavement. You're going to have to either introduce yourself in person, you're gonna have to send some emails, or you're going to have to make some phone calls. So these could be cold requests to someone that you've never met before, which can be a little bit more tough, or you can try leveraging existing relationships. So these could be sports coaches, or past bosses, or current bosses, or maybe family friends. The less of an existing or established connection or relationship that already exists, the more work that you're going to have to do. So if you are reaching out to someone cold that you've never met before, I think that it's really important that you do two things. So first of all, you bring value. You show that you've been working on something, a project, or just yourself, and you establish that you are a valuable mentee, someone who is going to put work in to take the advice that is given to them. And then also to ask specific questions. If you're just coming out and saying, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, you might have a bit harder time with someone that has no idea who you are than if you come out with specific questions, asking for specific advice to achieve specific goals. My second piece of advice on mentorship would be that mentorship is a two-way street. It can't all be take all the time, and mentors can be and often are very generous, but as humans, we are inherently self-interested, and the best way to pay back a mentor is to take their advice and actually use it and apply it in your life. Contrary to what many seem to believe and to what I believed once upon a time, it's not just about asking for help and then magically getting ahead. You have to take your mentor's advice and run with it. And if you do that, you increase your chances of getting more and better advice down the road. But if you take their advice and you don't use it, then you're just wasting their time, which is likely much more valuable than yours realistically. And so I'm not saying that you have to take your mentor's word as gold all the time. They don't know everything, no one does, but I've been on both sides of it. So I've ignored mentors' advice and ended up being right in the past, but I've also ignored mentors' advice and ended up getting burned by it and looking pretty stupid. So it's up to you to use some discretion, but if you don't take any of their advice, then that relationship is just a waste of everyone's time. Number 3 would be to think hard about and actually try to know what you're looking to get out of the relationship. So for example, when I was like 19, I thought that I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I got a job as a mail clerk at one of the top law firms in town. And while I was there, I asked a lot of lawyers to go for lunch or grab a coffee so that I could pick their brains. So I was looking for a mentor. I didn't really know what that meant or what I wanted out of it, but I knew that I was supposed to ask advice and that these people could help me get what I wanted. Or I thought that anyway. And so a lot of them were really great and gave me really great advice, but it wasn't the advice that I needed. So the problem was that I didn't want to be a lawyer. I thought I did, but what I really wanted was respect and for girls to like me. I've since found out that there are in fact other ways to achieve that. And so then, after plenty of searching and plenty of awkward coffees and lunches, I finally knew that I'd found the mentor that I needed when he actually asked me what would make me happy. So I went into that coffee thinking that I was going to get and thinking that I wanted and needed strategic business advice, but what I actually got were heartfelt questions about me and my happiness and my purpose. And when I was asked those questions, I realized pretty quickly that that's what I actually needed. My fourth piece of advice would be that mentors come in many different forms. So when I think about mentorship, of course, I immediately think of my parents. So my mom and dad. They taught me all my most basic values, and I can't talk about mentorship without acknowledging what they've done for me. So this was definitely present in both of my parents, but especially with my dad growing up, I think that he really instilled in me the most valuable lessons and values that I've ever learned, and those are grit and resilience and hard work. And those have served me like nothing else, so thanks, Dad. Love you. Oh yeah, and I love you too, Mom. And so after my parents had instilled those core values in me, eventually I discovered that I was interested in business. And so at that point, they didn't have perhaps quite as much to offer, just because they had never run businesses, they had never started their own business, so why would they now? And so at that point, I sought out and eventually found some great mentors who taught me about running a business. They taught me about sales, they taught me about admin, they're still teaching me about negotiation and about leadership and about management. Sometimes I feel like I'm learning really slowly, but I would definitely be learning a lot more slowly if I didn't have their expert advice. And then I don't think that mentors necessarily have to be superiors or elders. You can find mentors in your peers and in your friends. And I think that you should. If you're not learning from your friends, then you're stuck, and that's just not a good place to be. And then last but not least, mentors don't have to be people that you meet in the physical world. They could be online, or they could be in books, I've found plenty of mentors on YouTube and on blogs, and I've learned countless important lessons from some of my favorite authors. So for example, Ryan Holiday, who in my opinion is one of the best authors of our generation. And through Ryan's work, I discovered Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, which is the journal of Marcus Aurelius, who was at the time the Roman emperor, the most powerful person on the planet. So those are some pretty cool experiences to learn from. I've found some of my best mentorship in filmmaking and in life in general from Casey Neistat's YouTube channel. And I've gotten some of my best business advice and tips from Gary Vaynerchuk's many channels and many pieces of content. And I think that this type of mentorship is especially important for people who might live in smaller cities like I do. And this is probably doubly true if you're working in new technologies or new industries that people in a smaller city might just have no clue about. They might be able to help you with the business side of things, but in terms of the actual content or the actual ideas, you might have to seek that advice out online, or maybe even do it the old-fashioned way and just go it alone. Number 5, if you think that maybe you just don't need a mentor, you're wrong. You're probably going to need several. There will always be someone smarter and or more experienced than you, and there's no better or more efficient way to learn than to have a mentor distill those experiences and that knowledge down so that you can learn from their mistakes instead of having to learn from your own. It'll never be a bulletproof guide to success, but there's no such thing, and it's probably the best you're gonna get, so take it. And now, because I screwed up and actually had 6 things, but I'm gonna say that it's a bonus one, my bonus 6th piece of advice is to express gratitude. So this is not to be confused with flattery or with manipulation, but it's just general good practice to acknowledge people when they do things for you. The same way the Ninja Turtles expressed their gratitude to Master Splinter in that photo, it's extremely important to show or at least tell your mentor that you're grateful for what they've done for you. On that note, I will take my own advice and take this moment to thank the people who have helped me along the way, because I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it weren't for you. You know who you are. I'll try my best to never take what you've done for me for granted, and I love you for it. I'd also like to take a second to thank you guys for checking my channel out. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to follow along and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. And if you feel like you learned anything or you took anything away from this video, let me know what you learned or what you took away in the comments below. I'm really curious to know. I really genuinely hope that you'll use some of this advice and that it's helpful or useful to you. And other than that, I guess all I can say to you for now is good luck, and you won't need quite as much of that luck if you find yourself a great mentor. See you tomorrow.